Picture this. It's Sunday in Rome. The Foro Italico sits draped in late spring heat. The terracotta clay freshly watered. And walking onto that ancient ground is a 20-year-old woman from Manila who 5 years ago was rallying on practice courts in Majorca while most of the tennis world didn't know her name. Across the net stands the second-ranked player on the planet. A 6-foot force of nature who just won the Australian Open by dismantling the world number 1 from a set down in the third. Elena Rybakina versus Alexa. The round of 32 at the 2026 Italian Open. And if you think this is just another routine mismatch for the Kazakh powerhouse, you haven't been paying attention to what Alexa has quietly been building all year long. Let's rewind. Alex Eala was born in Manila on May 23, 2005. Her mother, Riza, was a swimmer. Her father, Mike, an executive. Her older brother, Miko, played tennis and became her first training partner. By the time Alex was a toddler, she was swinging a racket nearly as tall as she was on the shell courts of Va Verde Country Club in Pig City. Her first coach, a family friend, trained her every day from the age of 3.5 until she was 13. That's when the Rafa Nadal Academy in Majorca reached out and Alex packed her bags and moved to the other side of the world to chase something that no Filipino had ever accomplished in tennis. The Philippines is not a tennis country. It's a basketball country, a boxing country. The infrastructure that exists in France or the United States or even Kazakhstan for developing elite players simply doesn't exist in the same way in the Philippines. And yet here was this girl, barely a teenager, training on the red clay of Manacor, surrounded by the ghost of greatness that Nadal's academy exudes from every corner. She graduated in 2023 with Ig Swiatek herself invited to attend the ceremony by Nadal. Think about that for a moment. Think about the worlds that overlapped in that room. And the junior results came fast. Doubles champion at the 2020 Australian Open Juniors when she was 14. Roland Garros junior singles champion in 2021, then the big one, the 2022 US Open junior singles title, making her the first Filipino to ever win a Grand Slam title in any category. The junior circuit was conquered. The professional road ahead, though, was something else entirely. For a couple of years, Ella grinded through the lower tiers, ITF events, qualifying rounds, that gray stretch of tennis where talent alone isn't enough and you need reps. You need lessons that only losing can teach. In 2024, she won a W100 title in Victoria-Gasteiz, broke through in the main draw at the Madrid Open, but she was still hovering around the 140s in the rankings. A promising player. But promising players are everywhere. What separates them from the ones who arrive? Miami 2025. That's the answer. Ella got a wild card into the Miami Open when she was ranked 140th in the world. Nobody gave her a thought beyond the first round. She then proceeded to beat Elena Ostapenko, a former Grand Slam champion. Then Madison Keys, another Grand Slam champion. Then in the quarterfinals she faced the player she had watched graduate alongside her at the Nadal Academy. Ig Swiatek, at that point ranked number 2 in the world. Ella won 6-2, 7-5. She became the first Filipino to reach the semi-finals of a WTA 1000 event. That week everything changed. Not because one tournament transforms a player's ability, but because it revealed to the world what people close to her already knew. Alex Eala belonged. Her ranking rocketed. She reached the main draw of the US Open later that year and won a match there. Another first for a Filipino. She earned her first WTA title in Guadalajara. And by early 2026, she was climbing into the top 40, then the top 30, reaching a career high of number 29 in March. She beat Jasmine Paolini, then ranked 8th in the world in Dubai. She made quarterfinals in Abu Dhabi. She was by every metric a different player than the one who had walked into Miami a year prior, but the clay season has tested her. Before Rome, Ella had early exits in Linz, Stuttgart, and Madrid. Her record on the surface entering the Italian Open was a modest 3 wins. Clay demands patience, endurance, construction of points that hardcore tennis doesn't always require. and Ella's game built around aggressive baseline striking and competitive fire had to calibrate itself to a surface where the ball sits up differently, where winners are harder to come by and where you need to grind through rallies that test your legs as much as your technique. So what she did in the first 2 rounds in Rome mattered enormously. Against Magdalena FCK in the opening round, Ella stormed through the first set 6-0. A bagel looking like she had finally found her rhythm on the dirt. Fick fought back to take the second set and the match could have slipped away. But Ella regrouped and won the decider 6-4, showing the kind of gritty resilience that you simply cannot teach. That was her first ever win in Rome, and it meant something. You could see it in her face afterward. Then came Wang Su, the 31st seed from China, a player who had beaten Ella in their only previous meeting. A 3-set semi-final loss in Auckland back in January. This time Ella was the aggressor. She grabbed the first set 6-4, kept her composure through a 10-second set, and closed it out 6-3. It was a statement, a controlled, mature, purposeful performance that whispered something louder than any shout. I am ready for what's next. What's next is Elena Rybakina. Let me paint the picture of what Ella is walking into. Rybakina's 2026 season has been nothing short of breathtaking. She arrived at the Australian Open seeded 5th and then proceeded to beat AJ Swiatek in the quarterfinals 7-5, 6-1. She beat Jessica Pegula in the semi-finals. And in the final, she defeated Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, from 0-3 down in the 3rd set. That is the kind of result that rewires a player's self-belief permanently. Her second Grand Slam title, the first player in 8 years to win the WTA Finals and the Australian Open back-to-back. She then reached the final at Indian Wells where she had a championship point on her serve against Sabalenka before ultimately losing one of the most dramatic finals of the year in a 3rd-set tie-break. She made the semi-finals in Miami beating Pegula for the 5th time in 7 months. She won Stuttgart on clay beating Karolina Machova in the final 7-5, 6-1. She currently has 28 wins against just 6 losses this season, a winning percentage over 80%. Her ranking rose to a career-high number 2 in March and has stayed there. When Rybakina opened her Italian Open campaign against Maria Sakkari on Thursday, she was clinical. A 6-4, 6-1 demolition in an hour and 16 minutes. She broke Sakkari's serve in the very first game and never looked back. The data tells an even more intimidating story. Only Swiatek, Sabalenka, and Coco Gauff have won more WTA-level matches on clay since 2020 than Ryana's 61. Her break of serve numbers this season are second only to mirror Andre Eva on the entire tour with 127 breaks. Her serve remains one of the most devastating weapons in women's tennis, consistently hitting north of 180 km/h with a first serve placement that opens up the court like a skeleton key. So where does Alex Eala find daylight? This is where the analysis gets interesting because Rybakina, for all her brilliance, is not without patterns that can be exploited, and for all her underdog status has the specific tools to probe them. First to serve. Rybakina's first serve percentage this season sits around 59.7%. That is not elite. It is workable. When her first serve lands, she is extremely difficult to break. But when she misses it, the second serve becomes a different animal entirely. On clay, where the surface dulls pace and allows returners to set their feet, Rybakina's second serve can be attacked. Ella has shown improving return numbers throughout the season and her ability to step inside the baseline on second serves. A tactic her coach Joan Bosch has been refining with her could be the difference between being pinned back and being in the rally on her own terms. Second, movement. Rybakina is 6 feet tall with long levers that generate tremendous racket head speed but also create a slightly higher center of gravity than smaller, more agile players. On clay, where balls bounce higher and rallies stretch wider, that height can become a marginal liability in defensive situations. Rybakina's lateral movement, while improved dramatically under her coaching team, is still not her foremost strength. She prefers to dictate from inside the court.